Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company here on Good Morning Kenya. In case you're just joining us, karibu tena sana. This is Entertainment Thursday happening right here on Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Our individual handles are at Ray Manyara, at Victor Olo, at Doreen Arange, and at Jane Wambui. And speaking of Doreen Arange, remember I had mentioned earlier that we have so much lined up for you when it comes to the entertainment bits that we have, planned for you today. And we want to now cross over to one of the locations here in the city. We get to interact with Doreen and get to see what is going on her end. So Doreen, there we go. How you doing? How you doing?
On my end of things, but nonetheless, who could have been ready? But we are here to keep our viewers continue glued to our screens up until 10 a.m. It is Thursday, so it's definitely time to take it easy, light. It is Entertainment Thursday, and we are at the Kenya National Theatre, or if you may, the Kenya Cultural Center. We have a lot in store for you this morning. We just want to talk more about theatre arts, and specifically here in the country. On this set, I'm joined by three amazing guests. To my immediate, not actually to my farthest right, that is Michael Pundo. He is the CEO, Kenya Cultural Center. He'll also be talking to us about matters arts and specifically theatre arts. Next to him is Fed Oyagi, the festival director. We still have that ongoing Kenya International Theatre Festival, which began on 2nd of this month up until 14th. So we'll be getting to make us understand more about this particular festival, what is in it. And to my immediate, that is left, this is Brooks Berengere, director production from Senegal. Remember that this kind of festival brings together all people from everywhere across the continent and even beyond. So this is why we also have her on set to talk to us a bit more about that. But we start with the Mr. CEO himself, and perhaps you can begin from the basics. Arts, and specifically theatre arts. We talk about it not being an appreciated craft, most especially in Kenya, and we were just having this conversation earlier on with Fed, and we were saying when you look at the different other forms of arts, perhaps even music, film, we have likes of Kalasha, we used to have the Groove Awards, so we used to have quite a lot of award systems. But when it comes to theatre arts, we just know of Sana. Like, there's barely any form of too much appreciation when it comes to arts. Why is that?
Thank you so much. I would say theatre arts is alive, very alive, but not as alive as other forms of art, especially music, because of the nature of the art. Theatre is confined because we have to get a theatre space, or if it is a makeshift, then there has to be a formal theatre space, as opposed to music that is on the move. You can perform music anywhere and anyhow, anyway. The preparation, the performance of theatre is a bit more involving, and so there is a bit more time involved in preparation of a theatre production than in production of a music production, and so the fact that the theatre production is more involving makes it not as easygoing as any other forms of art. But nevertheless, I think theatre is moving. It is alive. It is only also that we can't have snippets of theatre productions. We must have a story, and so. For a theatre production to be meaningful, it must be between 20 minutes to 30 to 40 and 1 hour to 2 hours. And so you have to make time to watch a theatre production, as opposed to music, which you can have 5 minutes and you've had enough of music. So yes. So the nature of the genre and the amount of time and resources involved in the production makes it a bit slow in terms of movement and reception from the would-be theatre lovers. Again, music is everywhere. You will get it in the bar, you will get it in the bars, you will get it anywhere. But theater is location specific. You can't get it anywhere else. Yes.
So going by all that you've mentioned, clearly there's so many factors surrounding why perhaps it's not where it needs to be when it comes to appreciation and even the awareness itself. So what do you feel needs to be done? Because some would even talk about perhaps policies or structures that need to be put in place. What is your thinking?
There are enough policies, I would say, to deal with this. One is funding. Because then we have to make people aware of the genre, of the art. We have to take the art to the people. And taking a theater performance to the people needs a bit more of funding, because then we'll be relocating a professional stage to where there is no professional stage. And for people then to like this, then they have to get to interact with better performances. Secondly, our thespians, our theater artists need also to be more creative, not to confine themselves to the traditional way of doing it. We need to be more innovative, and I think the pandemic has taught us so. Now we are getting more creative and taking theater out, even in using media that was not traditionally theater inclined. You will now get smaller recordings of a theater production which can be watched in 10-20 minutes on your phone. Now there are mobile applications designed for theater productions, and so if we can have the audiences interact more with the genre, then I think people will gain a liking. But again, there should just be enough marketing also, so that we make noise about our act, so that people get to know that this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is how we can do it differently from how we used to do it. Yes, so there's more we need to do.
You've said something very important, and I'll come back to you just perhaps to expound more on that, and that is to be creative enough. But let's come to the marketing bit, Fed, and I think you're the best person to talk about that because of also what is currently happening. That is the Kitfest 2021. Began on 2nd, supposed to end on 14th. Tell us more about this kind of event and festival.
All right. This is the Kenya International Theatre Festival, abbreviated as Kitfest. So we are having our 6th edition this year. That's Kitfest 2021. And basically what we're trying to achieve with Kitfest is what the director of the Kenya Cultural Center has mentioned. We're trying to take theater to the people. So for us, we're just starting from building capacity of the thespians themselves, and then just creating that platform and just creating opportunities for them to be able to showcase their crafts and do it professionally, and maybe even earn a living from it. Yes.
All right. So this is the 6th year so far. How can you track the progress? Because you're just saying this is what also the CEO is trying to allude to: create more awareness, popularize the craft. Yes. How has it been so far in terms of the progress of even that awareness, and how it has been since 2016 when it began?
In 2016, we began with a 2-day festival. Up until now, we can just say cumulatively we're doing up until 3 months of a festival. So we had a 2-day festival in 2016. It was still new. It was strange to most people. And then we kept adding on more days. And then it was 1 week. And then it was 2 weeks. I think in the terms of popularity and marketing and trying to push the festival and the theater space and culture out there, we've made a lot of progress. We've penetrated into the counties. So far, we've reached 5 counties. That's Mombasa, Nakuru, Meru, Kisumu, and then Nairobi, of course. And we're looking at even going into all the counties in the country. So, like he said, just trying to make sure that this theater message goes to as many people as possible. We create the artists, we just make them professional, so that when we call upon people to come and watch these performances, then they can come and appreciate professional performances created for them.
Wow, clearly
Yes.
that's good progress made. At least you've reached different parts of the country except just Nairobi.
Yes.
When you talk about it's been a 3 months affair, I mean, we just mentioned it's from 2nd November to 14. So how does this 3 months look like?
All right, this year has been a bit different, but what we've done, like in the previous years, we start with the counties. So we go and do we call it the county training and workshops, where we take, qualified professionals like Brooks. She's going to hear from her, both locally and the ones we're coming in as international guests, and then they're able to work with the groups in these counties. So they're training them, they're just building the capacities, enhancing their skills, showing them how theater should be done and whatnot, and that's how we build the capacities. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You just mentioned Brooks, and now let's get to Brooks, who is a director at Brr Production. I did pronounce it correctly, I hope.
Yeah, production, very good.
Okay. So tell us a bit about that name, quite peculiar.
Okay, it's actually very easy. It's like it's one of the warm up we do as actor for to warm up your tongue and your lips before going on stage. So that's all it is.
That's all that there is to the name. There's always something about name and art.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. So coming to Kenya to be in this kind of festival, this kind of event, trying to popularize and create more awareness on art. Just as we were speaking with the CEO as well as the director of Kitfest, clearly there's little awareness and perhaps little appreciation when it comes to art in terms of theater compared to other forms of art. What is the experience from your country?
It's a bit the same, I would say. It's also a struggle in Senegal to make theater, but theater is important. I think is a live art. If you talk to actors that actually work both in cinema and theater, lots of them would say actually they prefer to do theater because of that relationship you have live with the audience. So theater is the base. It's really the base for an actor or even a director. So I think it's really important to keep on doing theater and to train people and to funding is another issue, as we just heard, and it's the same problem as in Senegal. It's hard to find money for theater, but we have to be clever, creative, but also clever in a way to find money. Maybe now we have to go and see private sector if they can help us, or go on to social media. Like now we do have a YouTube channel, which for me was like something very strange at first, but we did this web series, which is actually a small theater piece filmed on stage, but that we put on YouTube, and it's working. So yeah, being creative and clever to adapt.
So for you, would you say that creativity and perhaps being smart enough and clever enough and adapting is what has been helping you, and even with your production company in your country?
Yeah, definitely. And because of COVID as well, like everybody else, we had to find other ways to keep on working. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, let me pick your mind on this, because I really had a lot of conversations with a good number of actors, and a good number of them would tell you about policies, but the CEO as a trick tries to shy that away, trying to say that yes, in Kenya specifically, we have policies enough and good policies. Let me pick your mind on policies and perhaps the place of government into making theater arts, just specifically theater arts, a success.
So in Senegal, we don't have any help from governments. Okay. Yeah. So Senegal used to be a country where the government would fund theater and take the national company abroad and promote Senegalese culture that way. But that hasn't been the case for the last 20 years.
Oh.
So theater
for the last 2 decades.
Yeah. So it's quite difficult right now in Senegal for theater. But maybe, I mean, if we have enough companies showing that we can make money, I think, with art, with theater, that we go abroad, so we promote Senegalese culture, I think that would, give a good sign for the government to help us as well.
So basically what you're saying is that it needs to start with you and I, or with the actors themselves, before we can even move to say we need government to do this.
I think so. I don't see the point of waiting for government to to act if they don't have the will. They just look busy with other stuff. But let's show that arts is important, and then maybe they come to us.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Now you see when they say you think your problem is bad or worse, not quite that bad or worse. CEO, wanasema we have at least good policies. I mean, so different from the experience with Senegal. For the last 2 decades, they feel like they haven't really been getting help. But for us, you're saying we always think that we even have a bigger problem, but it looks like it's not that bad.
I would say until you go to the hospital is when you'll know you are actually not sick. But from a government point of view, I said we have enough policies. And you see, one major role of government is to provide an enabling environment for anything else to thrive and prosper. And so the government has provided an enabling environment for art to prosper. Okay, funding is lacking, I would say, and the sector is least funded. That is true, and that then makes implementation of various policy become difficult. But this is now where partnerships come in. And one thing we need to agree on is theatre is a tool for social change. Theatre speaks to our well-being. Theatre speaks to us. It is our mirror. So it provides solutions to problems that bedevil us in a creative way. It points to us our ills, but in a way we can laugh about them. But we have seen that is what we do wrong. And so private sector would come in to push the agenda, to help in issues of social change, to help in issues of development, and push these messages through art so that they complement what the government does. And with this, I think the sector will really go far. So yes, funding is a problem, but there is an enabling environment, and that the government has started by giving an enabling environment, and there are policies. So now it is creating synergies, partnerships to implement and help the sector grow.
At least we have something good. We have that enabling environment. I mean, some places you can't even be going about speaking about some of these social ills that art and theatre is supposed to bring out because of some restrictions. At least we have that chance and a system and an environment to showcase that. But let me pick what Brooks had mentioned there in terms of creativity, and this is based on the actors, because it's just that normal, even just life thinking, that for me to help you also I need to see what you can do. Do you feel from your perspective that there's also something more that perhaps our actors and actresses need to do to even push the government even more to make the environment even more and more conducive, and even provide this funding that we keep talking about? Because resources and funding is always an issue everywhere, perhaps.
Yes, actually there is more that our artists need to do, and in my conversation with several artists, I always challenge them. I ask them where their creativity went to, but it's understandable because the artist, the present artist, is also bedeviled with so many social issues. He needs to think about food, he needs to think about where he will sleep, as in where his rent. So this affects creativity somehow. But you see, the society, once you have pronounced yourself to be an artist, the society expects your creativity to be above normal.
Nonetheless.
Anyway, so we still need to find solutions within our problems to creatively address those problems. And so artists need to up their game. We have a bit relaxed or gone down a bit because now we don't see as creative productions as they used to be in the past. But that is understandable. So we only need to encourage the artists to be more creative and find these creative solutions to the problems we have currently. But there are so many funding opportunities. I know there are funding opportunities in culture which are able to aid in the productions, but I think most artists don't get this funding because they do the same thing the same way yesterday, today, and will do it tomorrow. So you find, for example, we have an IFCD fund, and you'll see, even though this funding is available, no artist receives it in the country. Not that the criteria has been tightened, they're the same criteria, but artists are I would say are not creative enough to meet that criteria. So yes, we want to encourage our artists. We have provided this space, by the way, so that artists can enjoy the space, develop their creativity. From the development of their creativity, they can improve their earnings, and when an artist improves his earning, then the GDP improves, and so artists should come together, create networks to help one another. With Senegal, how is it there? What are the funding opportunities? How do we get those fundings? What are the requirements to get the fundings? And are we able to sit down? Now that's the problem again. Artists don't want to sit down and work on a funding proposal.
Okay.
They want to work on the move, and as long as they beat the deadline, and they don't get the funding. So I think we need to put more effort in looking for those opportunities which will aid our productions.
You really talked so much about that creativity, and I'm so sure an artist who's watching is trying to wonder, do you know what I put into that shoe? Do you know the kind of rehearsals I've done? Do you know what I had to go get just to make this show a success? So you talk about this creativity. I mean, just let's be more practical about it. Basically, what exactly are you talking about?
Creativity is very broad, I would say. It has no specific pointer or specific single definition you'd put to it, but doing something differently. If you want to perform a piece, say that has been performed by another artist, what is it that you as the artist you are injecting into that already performed piece that belongs to you, so that the initial creator of this piece would look at your piece, no, his piece performed by you, and feel, okay, yeah, that is something I ought to have thought of. Now that is creativity. Yeah. Taking something ordinary and doing it extraordinarily.
Fred, I'm coming to you in a bit, but let me just go to Brooks, because I heard you chuckle a bit when the CEO talked about that creativity in the aspect of taking that thing that is already done perhaps and do it differently, which is also what you mentioned when you talked about the creativity bit. And at least, you know, even when the pandemic came, it showed you that you could do something differently. Let me pick your mind on that. What does creativity look like for you?
I think it's a good definition what you've just said, because all you said is to take something ordinary and making extraordinary. But I would say maybe it's as simple as also just looking things from a different angles. That's also already creative. You just move the focus, or you magnify it, you make it bigger or smaller, or you change perspective. All of that is part of creativity, and I think creative people, that's what they do. Yeah.
And now I'm feeling why it's so important to have this conversation, because you're getting two sides of the story. So if you're an artist and you're watching, then this is what creativity looks like for you, just trying to get a point here and there. Now, Brooks, even as we talk about that creativity bit, what are you doing in your capacity, even as a director? Are you training? Do you have workshops that perhaps could make actors and actresses become more creative? Because much as we can talk about issues of funding, which may be not within our control, what is within our control is to be more creative enough as artists or as an actor, as an actress. What are you doing in your capacity?
Yeah, we do training. I mean, training is important, because when you're an actor, you need to know the basic of theater, the basis and creativity. Maybe people are creative, but it's not enough. You also need to know how to make theater, how to be on stage, all the techniques. So you can't just be creative. that's not enough actually to be a good artist. You also need more than that, definitely.
Okay. All right, Fed, as we talk about this Kitfest, clearly the issue of creativity is just coming in somehow here and there. And also I believe this is perhaps also what you get to do in the different workshops, even in the counters.
Yeah.
Is it?
It is, and like Brooks is saying, creativity in itself is not enough. Because when you meet these artists, you find that they are super talented. But then you realize they need to know something else extra. They need to, like the director said, they need to know how to write proposals. They need to know how to market their shows and earn some money. So what we do is that we're just looking at a 360 development of an artist. So you're looking at their talent, you're looking at creativity, and how they're also able to manifest that so that it works in their favor and they earn something from it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, even as we talk about the festival, it's still an ongoing festival. As we mentioned, it's going to be taking place up until 14th November. And I'm so sure some viewers might be wondering, so how do people get to even be part of this festival? I mean, it's already happening, but you have another one coming next year. So how does that process look like, even for theatre companies or theatre productions that maybe want to be part of it during the different ones that may be coming?
All right, for the artists, we normally put out a call for participation at the beginning of the year. So we have many artists, apply to participate. That's both locally and internationally. And then we have a criteria of just selecting the items that are eligible to come and perform at Kitfest. And to the audiences, we just encourage them to come and support the artists, especially the local ones, because that's also how they get to progress in life here. So like you said, we are still here up until the 14th. We have a lot of shows lined up, and we want to call everyone to come and support these artists. Yes.
And the shows are not just from Kenyan powerhouses?
No, they're not from Kenya. This year we have representation from 12 countries. There's Senegal, there's the USA, there's Cameroon, there's Uganda, there's Tanzania, there's South Africa. We actually have two production houses coming from South Africa, and I don't know, maybe I've forgotten a few, but yeah, so it's an international festival, so we have people coming from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just in the CEO refusing that it's not only Kenya, it's even beyond.
Yes, we have even Egypt, we have India. So it is 12 countries internationally, and it's a big festival, and so we want to invite corporates actually to this festival because we need support. These artists need to earn from their act, so we really need people to come on board, support us. We are still running short of funds, but if we have partners coming on to help us, we will really make theatre be where it's supposed to be.
Make theatre where it needs to be. Let me just finalize with you, Brooks. The festival is still ongoing. As the CEO has put it, it's 12 countries. Senegal is also represented. Very briefly, what do you hope to achieve from this festival?
For us, it's great to come here because, we meet other artists, we see other shows, we interact with actors through workshops, so we learn a lot. We show our work, so that's also important, I think, as an artist, to be able to show your work outside of your comfort zone, outside of your country, but also to see other people, the way they work, what they do. So it's very rich for us to come all the way.
Okay, thank you so much. And that has been our conversation this morning, just to try and understand about theatre, and specifically theatre arts, not just in Kenya, but even beyond our borders. My guests have been Michael Pundo, CEO, Kenya Cultural Center. We've also had Fed Oyagi, the festival director, that is for the Kenya International Theatre Festival, or if you may, the Kitfest 2021, and also Brooks Berengere, director Productions, who've been joining us this morning just to give us a bit of an understanding about arts as a whole, and specifically theatre arts. Plenty more after this break.